inflammation is sometimes specific to you personally, what you react to, and you have to figure out what that is. All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about inflammation and omega-6 fatty acids. Now, you're going to see all kinds of information on the web on why omega-6 fatty acids are good for you and healthy for you. And what I tell you guys all the time on this channel is I don't care what other people say. I put things into practice for myself, and I find out what works for me. And what works for me generally works for the general population, but also we also have things that work for us that maybe don't work for another person. I have a gluten sensitivity. I can't have wheat. You can probably have wheat and have no problem with it. I can't. So that's a specific thing for me. But you can also do this with inflammatory foods. Some things are inflammatory to you that are not inflammatory to me. My wife, Kim, if she has wine, her nose gets stuffy. Inflammation in her nasal cavity, and she, got a stuffed up nose. I know someone who eats cheese, stuffed up nose. Someone that eats bread, stuffed up nose. So inflammation is sometimes specific to you personally, what you react to, and you have to figure out what that is. So for me, I figured out that omega-6 fatty acids, which are inflammatory to almost everybody, but we just don't know it because they're in everything. You have to stay away from the omega-6 fatty acids for most people. So what I figured out about myself about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I just out of nowhere, I had this ganglion cyst. If you look them up on the web, it's just a fluid tissue thing that's made with fluid. People usually get them on the top of their hand, but you can also get them here at the base of the thumb. And all of a sudden, I just got this ganglion cyst. It just showed up out of nowhere. It doesn't hurt. You can push on it and all that, but what happens was from time to time, I'd get my wrist would feel a little achy and it would just feel a little bit sore. And I couldn't figure out what it was from because when I tracked, like, okay, what did I do yesterday? Did I do some heavy lifting at the gym or was I playing a show? And it was like, I could play a show, get done with the show, and the wrist feels great. And then a random Tuesday, I'd wake up in the morning, my wrist would be really sore. Like, it wasn't horrible, like maybe a 4 on a scale of 10, 10 being the worst pain, maybe a 3 or a 4. So it's a little achy, it's a little bit annoying, a little discomfort. But I couldn't figure it out because it'd be like a random Tuesday. And I'm like, well, I didn't play a show for a couple of days. Didn't lift weights yesterday, did cardio yesterday. And why is today all of a sudden, is it just feeling a little bit sore? So I figured out these inflammatory foods. I already know about inflammatory foods because I stay away from gluten. And I already know that I stay away from nuts and seeds because they have some inflammatory properties as well. And so I went back and looked at my diet. And this is what you guys got to do. Go back and track your diet. This is why I tell people to keep track of foods that they eat on a daily basis, especially if you're having issues. If you're having inflammation, you're having joint pain, you're having muscle pain, or you're having some type of issues, whatever issues, keep a food journal. Write down what you're eating every day, all day, and then you can look back. And because I do that with my food, from time to time, I'm able to look back. So when I started having this little bit of a weird kinky thing with my wrist, I started tracking my food. And what I figured out, the omega-6 fatty acids in oats was causing me some inflammation. But what I realized too is that corn, I love corn shells for my tacos. I love corn, just whole kernel corn. I love it. It's great carbohydrates. I love it. But I noticed when I ate it 2 days in a row, my wrist was sore the next morning. And when I had taco shells the other day for our tacos, I woke up the next morning, wrist was a little bit sore. Omega-6 fatty acids in the corn. So where can you find omega-6 fatty acids? They're in a lot of things like corn. There could be in oats. They can be in nuts and seeds. They have a lot of omega-6 fatty acids. And of course, oils. Oils have fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids in them in high regard. So except for olive oil, that's pretty low in omega-6. But I already stay away from oils anyways because I would get inflammation in my shoulder blade up here if ever I have a lot of oil, where I've had it pretty bad actually, where the pain level was on like an 8 to a 9 at one point. So I already figured out to stay away from oils, but stay away from nuts and seeds, Oats may be inflammatory to you. They're not inflammatory to everybody, but this is why I say you have to figure out what's right for you. What foods work for you and don't work for you. So what I realize is, for me, oats don't work for me inflammation-wise. Nuts and seeds don't work for me inflammation-wise. And oils don't work for me inflammation-wise. So I just stay away from those omega-6 fatty acids completely out of my diet. And then my wrist feels the best it can feel. I don't have much problem with it at all, as long as I stay away from those foods. That's my tip for you guys today. Figure out what foods work for you, but stay away from those inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids, and you will probably see some relief in your joints as well. That's my tip.